presenting about open sources. All right, open source. Open source is a software with a source code that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance. The source code is a code that computer programmers can manipulate to change how a piece of software works, whether it be an application or a program. Open source was created to help people collaborate publicly without paying the cost of closed programs. Some benefits of open source are that adopting the software can save consumers money, as I said previously. I'll be talking about three great things about open source. So the first one is control. Users of open source have more control of the software. If you're really into computer programming, whether with open source, you can examine the code and change it to your liking. If you don't understand computer programming like me, you can use the software in whatever way you'd like. Second is security. Security on open source is more secure than closed. Programmers working with open sources can work on a piece of software without asking and update it quicker than proprietary software. Last is stability. Open source users prefer to use open source software for long-term projects because the tools in the program won't disappear or stop working. But there are some differences between open source and other sources. So open source, as I said before, you can modify the software, you can do whatever you'd like to it, it's not that expensive. But the others would be closed software. You can't modify the programs or whatever you use. You pay a lot for the software, and then you have to probably sign an agreement saying you won't do anything bad or mess with the agreement. So some sources of closed sources are Microsoft Office, Photoshop, all that jazz. So if I've shown you, so everyone probably knows what Microsoft Office is, but in this presentation, I will be talking about examples of open source. So my first example is LibreOffice, which was developed on January 25th, 2011, so it's about 5 years old. It is claimed to be the most developed open source Office suite available today. Its main competition would obviously be Microsoft Word. It comes in a vast 110 languages, which is crazy to think that happens. I don't know if Microsoft Office has that capability also, but still a lot of languages. So LibreOffice has some applications, Writer, which is similar to Word, Calc, which is like the Excel we use, Impress, which is the PowerPoint, Draw could be probably Photoshop, Math is something else that I don't think Microsoft Office really has, and lastly Base, which would be similar to Microsoft Database if anyone's used that. So some reviews on LibreOffice. Pros, I'm going to start with pros. LibreOffice is available on Windows, SOX, and Linux. You can opens virtually all legacy documents. It has an improved import and export function than Microsoft Office to some users. But there's also some cons. There's a clunky interface, confusing menu, and there's no cloud-based version of LibreOffice. I have not used LibreOffice myself. I would totally love to use it and see if these are true, but people probably have their own preferences and stuff, and we're probably so used to using Microsoft Office that we probably won't be open to using LibreOffice and stuff like that. So my second example in this presentation will be Linux. So Linux is an operating system. It was created in 1991, and it was controversial because it came out of the idea of the Free Software Foundation, which wants people to have access to free software, doesn't think you probably should pay that much for it. Linux allows you to run operations on their personal computers, so you could use LibreOffice on Linux, which is pretty cool. So now Linux is more a computer hardware platform than any other operating system out there. It's very dominant in the Android smartphones. Um, some popular Linux adaptations, Ubuntu, I think is how you pronounce it, which is installed into Teslas. So whatever those big old iPad things, the software on that is through Linux and Ubuntu. As I said before, Linux has is very dominant in Androids. So an example of an Android smartphone would be the Lexus 5X, which I've never used, but I guess Linux operates on it, which is pretty cool. And there's some companies that use Linux that either have or have and do use Linux, which are Dell, IBM, and Hewlett Packard, which are pretty cool to think that these companies probably don't want. These companies are probably saving tons of money not installing Microsoft Office or other programs onto their computers for their employees to use, so they're cutting costs, which is really great for them. Which is pretty cool. So in conclusion, open sources seem like the best solution, like Microsoft Word. And I'm pretty sure Microsoft Word retails for about $160, I would guess, and you can only put it up to like 5 devices. So if you have a family more than 5, you've got to buy another one, which really sucks. Open sources help you save your money, which is great for us college students who probably could do that. I would consider trying it out, but I think a lot of us are very set in our ways with Microsoft Office. We know how to use Office and Word and PowerPoint. We know where everything is most of the time, and we're very comfortable with it. So I would personally install it on my computer and see how it go for a week or so if I could figure it out. But I think it'd be really cool to use it, and I think it's a really cool way of seeing could take us if there is free software in the future. Maybe this is a possibility for our grandkids and stuff like that. So thank you so much for watching my presentation and have a good day.